I've heard it described as a dark hole. A hole you dig yourself into. One you can't climb out of. With walls too thin, eventually they cave in on themselves. And that's what my darkness feels like. That's what my heart feels like. Like it's caving in. I'm caving in on myself. And it's only a matter of time until I crumble completely. How do you turn yourself off? It's not that simple. Let's go back.
I don't even recognize her. She seems different, like something's changed inside of her. I'm worried, yes, but so is everyone. What does that mean? What are we supposed to do? How do we help? I just want to ask somebody, help me help her. You know, I mean, what can I do? But I'm not the one who's feeling this way. I'm not the one who knows what it's like. How can you help? Who can you ask? We have to help ourselves sometimes. And when it's so personal, such a disease of the mind, I mean, what am I to do? I can't medicate her, I can't change it, I can't make her see what I see and what she doesn't.
Well, it started, there was a lot going on in school, and it just seemed like things got a little overwhelming. And instead of just being normally stressed out, it was more just freaking out about little things, and it was not being able to get control of schoolwork and things like that, I think, is when I first noticed. Well, it's probably about the scariest thing in the world because you don't know what to do and you don't know if they're serious, and I think that was the thing I was the most worried about was, you know, I mean, I didn't think she would do anything, but you have to take it seriously, and what if she did? I never would forgive myself, and so, you know, we decided that if she talked about hurting herself or got to a place where she felt that was an issue, we were going to do something about it, and we were going to go somewhere and have somebody talk to her because that just can't happen. And, you know, dealing with the fact that this is a chemical imbalance, it's not, she wasn't being over dramatic, she wasn't just being a drama queen or whatever. This was something going on in her head that I didn't understand because I haven't had it happen to me. So things would be fine, and then all of a sudden you get a call, and you know, I remember being at work one day and she called and I was 45 minutes away, and the sound of her voice, I knew immediately I've got to get home. So I just kept her on the phone the entire time, but thinking in your head the whole way there, what if she does something to herself? I mean that's just, I can't imagine parents that have actually been through that. It'd be very hard.
I started seeing my therapist in the 8th grade. My 2-year middle school relationship turned from young love to abuse. Not the physical kind. Verbal, emotional abuse. The kind that burns your inner self to the point of no return. It was the kind of abuse that teaches you the level of cruelty the world is capable of. The kind the world may not always understand. I was his prisoner. I rose out of that dark situation to become a better, stronger person. But the damage never left me.
Well, it worried me not doing as much with people, wanting to hang out at home and just watch TV and not really want to, like she had friends, but I would say, well, what are your friends doing? Oh, they're busy, I don't feel like hanging out with them, that kind of thing. So really withdrawing into herself. That was probably the scariest part because it looked like from the outside that really everything was okay. When she's with her friends, she was like normal, and then she'd come home and just be sort of withdrawn again, and it was hard to figure out exactly what was going on. So then when I would try to talk to her about it, sometimes I had learned from some therapy we had done in the past that she doesn't like to be bombarded with things, so I didn't want to, you know, as a mother, you want to solve the problem. You just want to solve it, take it away, what's causing this problem, solve it. And trying to deal with the fact that I couldn't do that and not bombarding her with solutions, but more just trying to find out from her what was going on and what I could do to help. Well, I mean, I think it's just like anything that happens. If somebody cuts their arm, you go into, you know, instead of the person trying to help them can't go into panic mode, you have to go into very clear mode. So it was just trying to get her to maintain eye contact, get her breathing controlled, try to get her to stop crying because she couldn't stop crying. It was sort of uncontrollable, and really trying to get to the heart of it. And at that point, like the one where we were really concerned about whether she was serious about hurting herself, you know, just getting down to it. Or do you feel like you need to see someone? And finally she said yes. And so then it's, okay, action, we're gonna go do it. You know, of course later I wanted to collapse and I wanted to cry and I wanted to do all that, but you know, in the moment you gotta maintain eye contact and you be the one directing, okay, this is what we're gonna do from here. Okay, if this happens, we'll do this from here. It's really hard because, like with teenagers, they are out with their friends, and when they're doing something with their friends, everything's fine. And then, you know, I'll talk to her on the phone, and it's like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing great, everything's fine. And then the next day, it's, you know, something really bad happens, and it's like, where did this come from? And her answer would be, this is how it's been. You just didn't know. And for your daughter to be able to fool you is really a scary thing. So you try to pick out little clues, but it seemed like when that chemical imbalance is there, it just comes on so fast. You know, when someone's a good actress or someone is got a great personality and they're fine around their friends, it's very difficult sometimes to figure out what's going on, you know, on the inside, and that can be a scary, dark place sometimes. And when you don't have that situation yourself, and it's really hard to understand, then you're almost like, come on, suck it up. What's wrong? Why can't you just, you know, feel better? But you start to realize that that's not it. They are trying, they just are in a deep, dark place that they can't crawl out of on their own. You know, Pat Conroy said, you don't have to go very far in your family to find crazy. So it's certainly in the background of my family and my husband's family, but we are very straight and very structured, I'd say, and I would not describe myself as a very emotional person at all. So dealing with kids, you know, one who has suffered from panic attacks and depression, and the other one who's extremely creative but very tough dealing with attention deficit disorder and probably some OCD and things like that. It is very, very difficult because in my mind everything's straight, everything's structured. So it really is hard to not just again say, why are you wallowing in this? Why can't you just get over this? You know, everybody goes through this. All teenagers are going through this. To realize that, no, this, and you're being over dramatic, or you're just, you know, not organizing yourself well. These are all things that every teenager does, but when it's to an extreme, just trying to figure out that, and not blame them for it and not come down on them for it, but it's still, you gotta hold them accountable, because even if you have depression, I want you to have a life, I want you to have a job, I want you to have a career, I want you to get through college, you gotta get through school. And those things, so there's a balance there. You have to be structured in that you try to make them understand they still need to do things. You can't just let things go by. And that's where, to me, medication's important. I mean, some people are probably against it, but if it's gonna help my kids, either one of them, with their problems and to get through it, then that's what it takes. I think if you had diabetes and you had a kid who was having seizures, you'd give them medication. Well, when I talked about that deep dark hole and I saw what it took her to crawl out of it, you would never call that person weak. But you know, I mean, even me, you know, having a pretty strong disposition, I think you think about it and you think, why can't you just deal with this? But then you see it's not, you know, everybody's different, and it doesn't mean you're weak, but you can't stop what people think. Everybody's got their own issues, and depression is something you fortunately can actually deal with. You know, arrogance, you can't take a medication for that. Being a mean-spirited person, you can't take a medication for that. So, you know, you have someone who's very sweet-natured and a good person and got in a bad, dark hole and crawled her way out. If somebody is going to think that's weak because she took medication to do it, then they have their right to have that in their mind, but I know it's not true.
Black clouds are behind me, I now can see ahead. Often I wonder why I try, hoping for an end. Sorrow weighs my shoulders down, and trouble haunts my mind. But I know the present will not last, and tomorrow will be kind.